Well, folk singer is dead after she was attacked by a pair of coyotes.
What is the monkey doing? Tell me what the monkey...
He hit your face off!
We actually have a trainer in the water with one of our whales.
If I show weakness, if I retreat, I may be hurt, I may be killed.
Baby Azaria Chamberlain was taken by a dingo back in 1980.
Hello. Welcome back, everybody, to Man Eaters, the only true crime podcast on the internet where all the killers are real animals, whether it's biting, scratchings, maulings, or clawings. We are here to talk about it. I'm your host, James. Joining me, as usual, my co-host, African Drum Circle. How you been, buddy? Yeah, what have you been up to? Wow. Going on ice raids. That's, pretty fucked up of you. What's that? Oh, you went on a ice raid with Dr. Phil and that guy who played Superman. That's great. That really makes me think less of you, to be completely honest. Welcome back, everybody. New episode. It's been quite a while since I've sat in this chair and recorded a new episode for you, but we're here. We're queer. I'm not queer. I wish I was a little queer. I'm not very interesting otherwise. I've always thought that. I've always kind of been open to the idea of being a little queer and sort of like, maybe there'll be a boy who gives me the little funny feelings, but it just hasn't happened. I'm 32 years of age, and I feel like if it was going to happen, it would have happened. So sadly, I'm straight as an arrow. I know, boring. Sorry folks, I'm straight. Thank you. What am I talking about? What's the? What are we doing? Oh, Man Eaters, right? Kenneth Anderson. Today, we are doing a not a normal episode, really. Like, we're talking about a person rather than a man eater, but a person whose life was inexplicably linked to man-eating animals. I'm talking of Kenneth Anderson, of course, a person who you have requested to hear about quite a while. We've talked about his more famous contemporary, Jim Corbett, but this is a person who, in his own right, has a very interesting story to tell, and so we're pretty excited to tell that story as well. So we're going to get into that right now. Toot Sweet. What does Toot Sweet mean? Is it French? It sounds French. Fucking French people. So let's get straight into that now. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into the wonderful world of Kenneth Anderson. You know, when it comes to legendary man-eating animal hunters, most people jump straight to Jim Corbett. Of course, I've done that as well. We've talked a lot about Jim Corbett. Jim, of course, is the man who took down some of India's most notorious man-eating tigers and leopards. But there is another name, and it's one that doesn't get quite the same spotlight, whose stories yet have been every bit as gripping. Kenneth Anderson. Now, Kenneth Anderson wasn't just a hunter, he was a storyteller, and he's one of those rare figures in history whose life genuinely feels like it was ripped from the pages of an adventure novel. Except in his case, he actually wrote the novels himself. Kenneth Douglas Stewart Anderson. That is a white person name, if I've ever heard one. Kenneth Douglas Stewart Anderson was born on the 8th of March 1910 in Bangalore, back when it was still part of the British Raj. Kenneth Anderson grew up in a world that would be almost unrecognisable today, into a Scottish family that had been settled in India for 6 generations. His father, Douglas Stewart Anderson, held a naval-style position as the superintendent of the FCMA in Pune, responsible for military payroll. He was a man who loved shooting waterfowl. Douglas, like most Scottish soldiers, took an interest in sport hunting and influenced Kenneth's interest in the outdoors and hunting. So it's no surprise that young Kenneth inherited both a love of the outdoors and the rifle from his father. His mother, on the other hand, Lucy Ann Taylor, was of mixed European descent and was the granddaughter of John Taylor, who, for his services, had been gifted land in Bangalore by Sir Mark Cubbon. Educated in Bangalore at Bishop Cotton Boys' School and St. Joseph's College, he was sent to study law in Edinburgh, but he dropped out and returned to India, destined for the landscapes he loved more than the stuffy courtrooms of England and Scotland. From an early age, Anderson was drawn to the outdoors. The forests, the rivers, the wildlife. This wasn't just a weekend camping trip for him. This was thick, tiger-haunted jungle where a wrong step could mean a king cobra strike or a leopard silently taking you out from behind. And this wasn't far from his doorstep either. This was his home. He spent about 15 years working in the Posts and Telegraph Department and later as a factory manager at the British Aircraft Factory in Bangalore. But the unstilled heartbeat within him belonged to the forests. He owned nearly 200 acres of land in Karnataka, Hyderabad, and Tamil Nadu, land which often edged into thick jungle. But Anderson's heart was still wild. He would disappear for days, sometimes unarmed, into the forest just to breathe in that untouched nature. Now, Kenneth also wasn't just some rich colonial hunter blasting away at anything that moved. In fact, he had strong conservationist streaks long before that was fashionable. Sure, he hunted, but usually for very specific reasons. And sometimes those reasons were deadly serious. We're talking man-eaters. The forests of South India in the mid-20th century were teeming with wildlife, but there were also places where humans and predators collided. Leopards, tigers, and even sloth bears could and did develop a taste for human flesh. Sometimes it was because of an old injury. A broken tooth or bullet wound could stop a predator from hunting its normal prey, and slow, defenseless humans became the easier target. Other times, disease or old age pushed them to desperate measures. And when a predator crossed that line, well, the results were often horrific. Now, this man tracked down some of India's most notorious man-eaters, beasts like the sloth bear of Mysore, the leopard of Gumalapa, the rogue elephant of Panapati, the leopard of the Yelgiri Hills, the tigress of Jalaragil, and the tiger of Sagur, just to name a few. In fact, a couple of those we've talked about on this podcast, the sloth bear of Mysore being one of the very first stories we ever did on the show. Anderson actually became one of the go-to men when these cases cropped up. Over the decades, he claimed to have hunted more than a dozen man-eaters, each with its own unique story. And his accounts were never as simple as, I tracked the beast and I shot it. No, Anderson would weave in every detail. The fear in the villages, the eerie silence of the jungle, the flicker of eye shine in the dark. Official records note that from 1939 to 1966, he dispatched 7 tigers, 5 male, 2 female, 8 leopards, 7 males and 1 female, and rumors suggest that he may have killed more, over 18 man-eating panthers and 15 to 20 man-eating tigers. Now, there's something that makes Kenneth Anderson different from a lot of his contemporaries. He never painted these predators as mindless killers. Dangerous? Absolutely. But in his view, a man-eater wasn't evil. It was simply an animal doing what it had to do to survive, even if that survival came at a terrible cost for humans. And what sets Anderson apart wasn't just the danger he confronted, it was how he told these stories. His writing is immersive. The scent of damp earth and dawn, the call of birds, the tense flash of eye shine in the dark. He wrote not only of tigers and leopards, but of elephants, bison, bears, wild dogs, hyenas, and snakes. He explained personalities from the shy habits of the jungle tribes to villagers stranded by broken roads and poor medical care. He also didn't shy away from the supernatural. Anderson wrote of inexplicable experiences and carried a talisman given by Sayar Sai Baba for protection in the wildlife. He spoke Kannada and Tamil, bridging cultures in a way many colonial hunters never bothered. He hunted with a .405 Winchester Model 1895 rifle, and he drove a Studebaker, and later shifted to shooting with a camera, an early nod to his conservation. Outside of hunting, Anderson worked a day job, a manager in a soft drink company of all things. Not exactly the rugged, khaki-clad life that you'd expect, but his books, including 9 Man-Eaters and 1 Rogue from 1954, The Black Panther of Silvapali in 1959, Man-Eaters and Jungle Killers in 1957, The Call of the Man-Eater in 1963, Tiger Roars in 1967, This is the Jungle in 1966, Tales from the Indian Jungle in 1970, and posthumously published Jungles Long Ago. They all remain classics of hunting literature. Anderson's writing had a certain warmth to it. He could just as easily describe the call of a coal bird or the shimmer of moonlight on a river as he could describe the tension of stalking a man-eater through thick brush. And he didn't just limit himself to predators, he also wrote about other animals in the bush, including elephants, bears, snakes, and he even talked about his friendships with the local tribespeople who he knew and who knew the forests far better than any colonial official ever could. Importantly, he was a hunter by necessity, called upon by villagers and authorities when man-eaters struck, but he was also a pioneer of wildlife conservation in South India. His stories underscore the importance of respecting forest communities and protecting fragile ecosystems. In fact, in 2008, the Kenneth Anderson Nature Society, also known as the KANS, was formed in Hosur, Tamil Nadu, campaigning to declare the Melagiri forests a wildlife sanctuary and working on reducing human-animal conflict in areas that Anderson wrote about. A vocal admirer of his work, Pepin Gerold, a Bengaluru-based engineer who moderates a social media group of over 18,000 Kenneth Anderson fans, highlighted Anderson's early efforts of raising awareness. Quote, although he contributed immensely to the literary genre known as Shakar writing in India, Kenneth Anderson remained relatively obscure. I would imagine he would rather call Colbert the North Indian equivalent of Kenneth Anderson. But despite his conservationist leanings, it's still important to realize that Anderson was still a man of his time. He operated in an era when wildlife populations were seen as a resource to be controlled, not to be preserved in a way that we think of today. The British Raj's hunting culture was still in full swing during his youth, and while Anderson's hunts were often targeted and purposeful, he did take trophies, and he did kill a lot of animals. That tension between admiration of wildlife and the act of killing it is something that modern readers often wrestle with in his stories. Over time, Anderson became something of a local legend. People would invite him to villages where a man-eater appeared, and he'd arrive with his .405 Winchester rifle, his keen eye, and his deep knowledge of animal behavior. And here's the thing, a lot of the time it wasn't just about killing an animal. He would spend days figuring out why it had turned man-eater in the first place. Was it injured? Was it starving? Was human activity pushing into its conflict? He believed that understanding the why was just as important as dealing with the what. Now, one of the most unforgettable stories that he ever wrote about was the leopard of Gumalapur. The village of Gumalapur lay quiet until goats and livestock began disappearing at night. Soon, it was not just animals. Humans began vanishing too, leaving families afraid to sleep in their homes. People estimated over 40 lives were lost, and Anderson was summoned. He studied the landscape. He packed mud huts, narrow lanes, the faint tracks, a bloodstain here, a fur fragment there. And then he set his bait, usually a goat, tied near the jungle edge. Then he climbed into a machan, which is an elevated wooden platform concealed by a tree, armed, alert, and ready to go. Night after night passed. On the third night, just after moonrise, the forest went silent. In the stillness, he saw a shape. A big cat, cautious and respectful of the darkness. It circled the bait, eyes glinting, belly close to the ground. Anderson waited, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. At 20 yards, he shot a single bullet, and that shot ended the terror. Up close, the leopard was battered. It had broken canines, scars, and signs of old injuries. Clear evidence that this cat had been pushed into man-eating by survival, not malice. Anderson called it deeply tragic, and he later wrote, It is not hatred that fills me, but pity for a creature driven by pain and hunger to a fate it never chose. So why does Kenneth Anderson matter today? Well, Kenneth, a lot like Jim Corbett in the North, reminds us that conflict between humans and wildlife is rarely black and white. It's not good and evil. Man-eaters aren't evil. They're survivors driven by circumstance. And hunters, if they're compassionate, can become conservationists and storytellers. By the early 1970s, Anderson was battling cancer. He refused most Western medicine, instead relying on jungle herbs he carried in a homemade box. But after being mauled by a man-eating tiger, he wisely took penicillin to prevent infection. He sadly passed away on August 30th, 1974 in Bangalore at the age of 64. His final book, Jungles Long Ago, published after his death, closes with this phrase: "The jungle is his birthplace, his heaven, and his resting place when the end comes." He may never have gotten Jim Corbett's level of fame, but South India does remember him, and the forests he describes still echo his legacy. With sanctuary campaigns, conservationists inspired by his words, and readers rediscovering his works even today. Today, his books are still in print. Many are passed around by fans of hunting lore, wildlife enthusiasts, and anyone who just loves a good adventure story. But Kenneth Anderson's legacy, it's a tricky one. On one hand, he documented an India that's now largely gone. Vast stretches of untamed forest teeming with wildlife, where a single human life could disappear without a trace. On the other hand, he was a hunter who killed some of that wildlife. If there's one thing that makes his work clear, is that he saw himself not as a conqueror of nature, but as someone living within it. He wrote of man-eaters not as villains, but as tragic figures, predators pushed by circumstance into deadly conflict with humans. And in that, his work still resonates, because human-wildlife conflict hasn't gone away. If anything, it's more urgent today than ever. Anderson's stories remind us of a truth that's easy to forget. In the wilderness, there are no heroes or villains. There's only survivors. And sometimes, the desperate quest for survival puts us on a collision course with other people and animals desperate to survive. And that's my little brief expose on Kenneth Anderson. There's definitely a lot to unpack there. He's got a lot of books out there that you can read. I would recommend those. I'd love to, if I had some more time to read, I really would love to give it a go. Find some of his old books and just sit there and read. Yeah, really interesting man, and a lot of parallels there between him and Jim Corbett. Like, a lot of things in common. The conservationist leanings, the fact that he was into photography at a later age, the way he was raised, the way he made relationships with tribes people in India, the way he viewed man-eaters, not as villains, but as tragic figures that have been driven to a fate that they didn't choose. Very similar men. I wonder if they ever met each other. I'd be very curious to know that. I'm sure that they would have a lot to talk about, those two having a tea in a tent. Certainly a very interesting person. Back when India still is a pretty wild place, but not anything compared to what it was like at the beginning of the 20th century. Some of those animals, like, the sloth bear of Mysore, the Champawat tiger that Corbett killed, body counts stacking up into the hundreds. They were serial killer animals. And that's what this show is all about. So I guess, in terms of true crime podcasting, if and I don't want to, again, I'm not saying that these animals are villains, but if the Champawat tiger is like a Ted Bundy and the Mysore sloth bear is a Jeffrey Dahmer, then Kenneth Anderson and Jim Corbett are like the police that caught them. You know what I mean? They finally track them down and catch them. But we never really remember their names, do we? We never really remember the names of the police officers or the cops or the detectives who find the killers. We only really remember the killers themselves. So it's important every now and again to stop and talk about people like that. People like these hunters. There's a lot more of them, and if you like this this kind of story, please let me know. Give me some feedback because there's a lot more of these guys, like Kenneth Anderson, like Jim Corbett. Obviously, I think those are probably the two most famous, but there's a lot of hunters throughout history who tackled man-eating animals, and I'd be very interested in learning a little bit more about them if you are as well. So we're going to take a relatively quick break now. We'll come back with the rest of the episode. Go and do a wee. We are back. Did you listen to any ads? I hope they were good ads. I got told that because I opt out of certain ads through the place that hosts my podcast. I opt out of gambling ads because I don't like gambling ads. Particularly in Australia, it's really bad. It's terrible here, actually. Like, I was in New Zealand about a month ago and was like, wow, the reprieve from seeing gambling ads shoved in your face 24/7 was really nice. So I try not to accept gambling ads. But someone told me that they heard one. So if you hear a gambling ad, let me know, because I don't want that at all. I don't take that money. The other one I opted out. I think I actually might have opted back in was political ads. Because I, in the beginning, kind of was like, this isn't a political podcast. And it's not. But I also haven't shied away from sharing my political opinions in the past as well. So I can't remember. Maybe I did allow political ads. I'm not sure. If you hear a Trump ad or anything like that, just fucking ignore it, man. It's not, I'm not on board with that. Okay? If you know any ICE agents, you should, I don't know, throw a rock at them. Does that sound illegally for me to say, African Drum Circle? Is that good advice? No, it's not. Okay, cool. All right. Well, what the fuck was that? Jemima. That was the Advice City theme song. Weird. What's this one? Claps. Okay, perfect. Yeah, political stuff. That's fine if you hear it. If you're in Australia, by the way, there's a big march happening on the 31st of August. It's I can't remember what it's called, like the March for Australia or something like that. Someone asked me if I'm going to that, and the answer is fucking no, of course not. It's organized by fucking like neo-Nazis, dude. So no, I won't be going to that. Yeah, I'm a little bit, I don't know, man. I'm a little bit over the anti-immigration fucking rhetoric that's been happening a lot lately. I know that this is a big tangent, but I don't know, maybe I want to get off my chest. The fucking racism and shit that I've been getting on my like social media recently, it's just like astounding, man. No one's doing anything about it. I thought like back in the day that you would just get your account banned for saying just blatantly racist shit. The anti-Indian comments on my TikTok are insane. It's disgusting. It really is awful. No, I know that like currently there's a little bit of like an anti-immigration vibe in the air in a lot of Western countries. And look, immigration is certainly not a black and white issue. There's a lot to talk about. There is a limit. You can get it right, you can get it wrong. But my God, particularly living in Australia, man, the goal of white people telling people to fuck off, we're full. One, we're not full, and two, you don't get to say fuck off. This isn't your place. We invaded it, man. Unless you're like an Aboriginal person, unless you're like Indigenous, you don't get to say fuck off. That's my take on that. I don't really give a fuck if you disagree. If you go to the August 31st march, I will have lost a lot of respect for you. I think you should look into who's actually organizing that. Anyway, that's my little... Why did I start talking about that? I don't know. Let's do the scratch of the day instead. Oh, it's the scratch of the day. It's the segment of the show where we talk about animal-human conflict in the news this week, and we're starting off with a very interesting headline. WWE legend Charles Robinson rushed to hospital after an animal attack. This happened a day ago, reported by MSN. The story by Alistair McGeorge. I am not a WWE fan, but if you do know who Charles Robinson is, I'm telling you now, he's in hospital. So here's the story. Oh, the story's gone away. That's really great. Hold on. So a beloved WWE legend had to be taken to hospital this week after being bitten by a bat. A bat. Veteran wrestling referee Charles Robinson, who has been with the company since 2001, revealed on Wednesday that he was rushed to the emergency room after he was attacked by the wild animal. The 61-year-old star shared a photo from his hospital bed alongside a video of himself wincing in pain as he got one of his injections. There you go. That's the story. Look at this guy. Oh, he's what a haircut. This guy looks like he's about 80 and he's got like really platinum blonde hair. It's embarrassing. Anyway, bitten by a bat. I nearly got bitten by a bat. I had to go to hospital when I was a kid. I was in my backyard very late at night, and I needed to take a piss, so I peed on a tree, and a bat flew out of the tree, and it like brushed against me, and I had to go to the hospital. I think they gave me like a rabies shot, or they like tested me for rabies. I wasn't sure if it bit me or not, but the fact that it touched me was enough for them to be like, you need to get that sorted out. So anyway, another story. A Texas big game hunter killed while stalking African Cape buffalo. I saw this today because I saw that there was a new entry in the Friends That Are Killing Billionaires club. It was Luigi, that submarine that killed those guys a couple of years back, a couple of orcas, and finally now we've got these water buffalo in there. So here's the story. A Texas real estate magnate and trophy hunter was killed by a Cape buffalo during a hunting expedition in South Africa, according to a safari company, which described the incident as sudden and unprovoked. Asher Watkins had been tracking the bull for a kill when the large horned animal staged an attack first. Asher was fatally injured in a sudden and unprovoked attack by an unwounded buffalo. He was tracking together with one of our professional hunters and one of our trackers, said Hans Viermich, leader of the safari company Conrad Viermich Safaris. The family and our team members who were present at the time are understandably shaken. Out of respect for the family's privacy, as well as our staff members involved, we will not be sharing further details. He described Watkins and his family as long-standing friends and part of the CVS family. Cape buffalo are considered one of the most wanted dangerous game animals by trophy hunters across the globe, according to the safari company. No other animal has a more fearsome reputation than a Cape buffalo. Responsible for several deaths and many injuries to hunters each year, the buffalo is regarded as the most dangerous animal to pursue in Africa, let alone the world. The nature of Watkins' death, being killed by the same animal he had sought to take down, sparked discussions online among animal rights groups and activists on the ethics of trophy hunting. Asher Watkins went on a luxury hunting trip in South Africa where he stalked a Cape buffalo, animal rights group PETA wrote on Instagram. The terrified buffalo was cornered and retaliated. Animals aren't trophies or wall decorations. Trophy hunting must end. A comment under the post said, "Cheers to the buffalo," and it has racked up thousands of likes. Watkins led the real estate brokerage firm Watkins Ranch Group, where he was responsible for multi-million-dollar properties across Texas, Colorado, and Arkansas. Watkins was a long-time outdoorsman who enjoyed fishing and hunting, according to his company's biography. Watkins' mother Gwen, a daughter Savannah, brother Amon, and stepfather Tony are among his surviving relatives, the company had said. Some complexity here, honestly, with big game hunting. We've talked about it before. If you want to listen to my opinion on big game hunting, go back and listen to the Cecil the Lion episode from not too long ago. I'm not going to get into it right now because the person died, and it is sad for that family and the people that were with him. But I do take issue with the phrasing here that this was an unprovoked attack, because I do think if you are actively hunting an animal, chasing it, tracking it, and pointing guns at it, that you can't call that unprovoked. Whether or not you think this is justified, this guy deserved it, or if you think no, he paid his money, he paid for the tags, it's a legal hunt, it's sad that he got killed, I'd be interested to hear your opinion on it. So if you do have an opinion, leave it in the comments below. If this is on Spotify, if you're listening on Spotify, you can do that, leave a comment. I'd be very interested to see how we rack up, like how the man and his family looks at big game hunting. Personally, I'm not super for it. I know that it's not 100% a black and white issue. There are benefits to big game hunting, including like money that goes into conservation. But I've also always thought that money could just go into conservation anyway. You don't have to kill the animal. You could just pay the $1 million to just save the rest of the buffalo and not kill that buffalo. But hey, that's my opinion. I'm not a hunter. I do know there are hunters that listen. I got that guy from Alaska offering me to go out and hunt with him, which was a very generous offer and very, very kind. But I just can't shake the feeling that I would get murdered by you in Alaska. And Alaska might not be America anymore. That's my understanding of the news today. Okay. Anyway. Oh, we're going to move on because that one is locked by a paywall. Okay, a mountain lion has attacked an 11-year-old girl in the backyard of her California home. Let's talk about that. This is from Malibu in California. A mountain lion was euthanized after officials said it attacked and injured an 11-year-old girl in the backyard of a home in Malibu, California. The incident happened around 5:40 p.m. Sunday near Pacific Coast Highway and how do I say this? Encino Canyon Road, according to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. The girl was reportedly feeding chickens when she was attacked by the animal and bitten on her arm. Family members took her to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. After the attack, California Department of Fish and Wildlife found a mountain lion and euthanized it. DNA tests will confirm if it was the same mountain lion that attacked the girl. This comes after a 6-year-old boy was attacked by a coyote at his sister's softball game in Carson, California. The coyote bit the back of the boy's head and both of his legs, requiring the boy to have 20 stitches. There you go. And the final story today. Oh, I have to dismiss... It always ruins the flow when I have to disable my ad blockers. I just think these websites need to just get over it and understand I'm just gonna have the ad blockers. I'm sorry. But the headline reads, a rabid fox has attacked 2 people in the same day in North Carolina. Foxy, very good. Okay, hold on. Authorities are investigating after a rabid fox attacked 2 people in North Carolina in 2 separate attacks on the same day. Both of the wild animal encounters took place in Aberdeen, a town about 95 miles east of Charlotte in Moore County. According to the Moore County Sheriff's Office, the first animal attack took place at 8:05 a.m. on Monday the 11th of August, along Midway Road and involved one person being bitten by the fox. That's a huge sentence. I'm so sorry. The second attack took place on the same day at around 8:35 a.m. on Sycamore Street and involved a person bitten by the same animal, according to a news release from the Sheriff's Office. Animal Services deputies collected the foxes responsible for both attacks and sent them to a laboratory for rabies testing. The release continues. Both people lived in the area but did not know each other, the Sheriff's Office told USA Today on Wednesday, the 13th of August. According to a news release, they confirmed the foxes had tested positive for rabies. The victims received medical treatment and were expected to recover. There you go. That's not often that we get a test back where it says, yes, it did have rabies. Oftentimes they don't have rabies. So it is just as well, actually, that they caught them and found that out. Because rabies, as we know, if left unchecked, that's a fatal disease. It's been virtually wiped out because of Louis Pasteur's miracle vaccine. But yeah, it's still, like, if left untreated and unchecked, that is a deadly disease. It's a bad way to go out too. Because imagine a world where you don't want to have a sip of water. All right, I'm going to take another quick break, and we'll be back with one last little game to play before we wrap up the episode. Gonna play a game with ChatGPT now. I've done this for the last few episodes. A bit of fun. I know some people don't love AI, but I think this is what AI is really meant for. So I'm gonna ask AI to please, can you hear me, ChatGPT? I'm actually using my microphone. I'm gonna allow it while I'm using the site. Maybe this will make it easier. Hey ChatGPT, can we please play a game where I guess an animal that you're thinking of by asking you yes or no questions? Okay. Let's see if it says yes or no. Oh, okay, I gotta put it through. He says yes, or she says yes. I don't know. Is it a they? Let's call it a they. Okay, so I've got a question ready. One in mind. Ready for the question? Yeah, I'm ready for the question. Okay. I'm doing the speech to dictation thing. Let's see if it works. Okay, so the first... Oh, I've got to ask the first question. Okay, my first question is going to be... first question is your animal a mammal? Okay. Is your animal an... Yes, it is a mammal. Very good. Does your mammal live on the land? Is the next question. Yes, it primarily lives on land. What do you think, guys? I'm going to ask if it's bigger than a dog. Is this animal larger than a Labrador retriever? Very specific there. Yes, it is larger than a Labrador retriever. Okay. Is this animal native to the plains of Africa? I feel good about this. It is native to Africa. Okay. Oh, hold on. Is your animal one of the big five in trophy hunting? The big five game? Yes, it is one of the big five. Okay, so that means, guys, that it's either a elephant, a rhino, a leopard, a lion, or a buffalo. Let's just, since we were talking about buffalo before, let's go. Is it a... no, let's not guess yet. Okay, is it a carnivore? Is the animal a carnivore? I don't want to just start guessing the five animals. That's not fun. It is a carnivore, which means it's either a lion or a leopard. Okay, it means it's a lion or a leopard. Does your animal have spots? Does it have spots? No, it doesn't have spots. Okay, I feel pretty good. I feel good about this chat GPT. Is the animal you're thinking of a lion, an African lion? Answer my question, bitch. Yes, I got it. Okay, I'm going to... Okay, this time, I would like to be the one to think of the animal, and I want you to guess. Okay, go. I have no idea if this is entertaining for anyone listening, but it's fun for me. Okay, it's asking me, is my animal a mammal? Yes, it is an animal. I guess I probably don't need to be... I can just write yes or no. Yes, it is a mammal. Oh, I didn't even think of the animal yet. Okay, I'm going to think of it now. ChatGPT is not listening. I'm closing the laptop. The animal I'm thinking of is a giant anteater, okay? It is a mammal. Does it live on land? Yes, it does. Giant anteater is what we're thinking. Is it larger than a human? They're pretty big. I don't know if I'd call it larger. Yeah, it probably is. I'd say yes. I'd say it's probably heavier than a person. Does it move in groups? I don't think so. I don't think it does. Is it a solitary land-dwelling mammal larger than a human? Is it a carnivore? Is it a carnivore if it eats ants? Yeah, I guess so. I guess technically it is. Ants are animals. Is it a member of the cat family? No, it's not a member of the feline family. Is it a member of the dog family? No, it's not. I think we might have stumped it. Is it native to Africa? No, this is a South American one I'm thinking of. South American giant anteater. No, it's not native to Asia either, you dumbass. Yes, it is native to the Americas. Okay. You're running out of questions, though. Is it a bear? No, it's not a bear. Does it have hooves? No, it doesn't have hooves. It has claws, which we know because they hurt them. Is it primarily nocturnal? I don't think so. I don't think so. But I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not. No, it doesn't hunt large animals. No, it does not. I think I've stumped it. Does it eat smaller insects? Yes, it does. Ooh, it might have figured it out now. Does it have a long nose or snout? Yes, it does. I think he's got it. Is it an anteater? Yes, but what specifically? What specifically is it? Because I'm specifically looking for giant anteater. It is the giant anteater. Well done, ChatGPT. You fucking nailed it. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Well, that was very loud. We're going to call that an end for today's episode. A little bit shorter than we're usually used to, but you know what? Good things come in 39-minute packages. So that's going to be it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. If you would like to listen to extra bits of Man-Eaters, head over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Man-Eaters. Trying to do some more content there. Big shout out. Actually, I'm going to give a shout out really quickly. I'm going to pull up the list. Let's do a shout out to the members of the Patreon. We never really do this. I gave you like a shout out at the beginning, but let's have a look at our community. So who do we have? I'm giving a shout out to where are they? Okay. I'm giving a big shout out right now to Aubrey Aubrey Flower, who is our newest Patreon patron. Thank you so much, Aubrey. Very, very generous donation each month, so I do appreciate that. I also want to give a shout out to Jack and Lexi, who've been there for a while, Lizzie, Marcy, Dawn, Dial Tone, and Riley. Thank you to those guys. I think I've got some more free members as well. Let me see. Tracy, Brandy, Jessica, BT Jaws, Annie, After, and Alasia. How is Alasia? Oh, that's Rhiannon. Never mind. Lexi, I've already said Lexi, Carla, Jack, Tristan, Lizzie, Suitable, Mark, Seb, the Doberman Connection podcast, Marcy, Dawn, and Riley. All those guys are free members except for Aubrey and for Lexi and Jack and also Lizzie. So thank you so much to those people. Love you a lot. If I got any of those wrong, please let me know. All those free members, you can become a paid member very easily. If you are listening to this, you can join as a free member or as a paid member. I would never begrudge you being either of those. And that's the end of our episode. Thank you so much. See you later.